right, it's 1:00. So for those of you who did attend on time, I'd like to get started. And little housekeeping first. You don't have to turn your cell phones on. I do believe we have you on mute. You don't have to turn them off. But I would like you to know that we're all going to send you a recording of this. And any documents we share in slides, we'll give you some of the raw copies of those. But if you have any questions or anything else like that, please go ahead and put them in the chat. Somebody other than myself is monitoring those and will interrupt me if the question is appropriate around the slide that is in front of you or in front of us all. Otherwise, they'll also make sure that we get to those. So thank you for joining us today. Oops, let me start with the right slide. And our content today is 7 things you must do to grow. We're going with a spring theme because I do believe today or tomorrow is the first day of spring. Woohoo! You know, for many of you, that's a good thing. And so we thought we would leverage that. And so let's get started. Okay, we're going to talk about things that will help you grow. And most of you are MSPs today, and you're in the business of helping others. Okay. And we have a philosophy here, though, too, is that if you're not growing, you're going. I don't know who I stole that from. It wasn't my original, quote. But in order to help the people that work for me and those around me and the companies I do business, I've always been growth-minded through several businesses that I've owned myself. So we're going to talk a little bit about myself and Ole, talk a little bit about our company, and then we're going to get into the 7 things I believe you must be doing in some iteration to facilitate your growth. And in many cases, you're probably not doing them or not doing enough. And if you're doing 4 of the 7, you're probably struggling with the 4, because I also believe that all 7 of these things should be the kind of things that you should commit to doing all 7 or not even do 1. Okay, anyways, we'll talk about, and then we're going to have our friends from TruNorth talk about Microsoft Dynamics and business applications, which I personally feel is a very neglected opportunity by many MSPs, although I also respect the area of keep it simple. But let's face it, Microsoft is king, and I think you guys need to play there. And so with that, let me introduce myself. And let me start by telling you that I did, in fact, own and build 2 MSPs. I've worked for a few throughout my career. Before starting CRO Leader just 4 years ago, I had been a consultant for another firm. I spent a lot of time in the channel working for distributors like Ingram Micro, and I have carried it back. I've led sales teams, and actually I've built several companies, 4 of them related to technology, and a couple of them I was actually able to sell. I believe very much in leadership is where all of this begins and ends. And I'm a DISC certified behavioral analyst, which is an important part of what I do. There's some other cool things in there. My 3 priorities in life include, in order, God, family, and work. So my family's in there. I got 5 kids. Anyways, with that, I would like Ole to introduce himself, our guest speaker today. I invited Ole on because, again, as you will hear, and as I've already mentioned, I believe what they do can really help you grow your revenue. But Ole, please talk about yourself right now. It is okay. You've got permission.
Well, that's good. I appreciate that. So I'm Ole Gjerde. I'm the CEO of TruNorth Dynamics. A little bit about me. I did grow up in Norway. So I like to joke that I'm imported. Came originally to the U.S. for college. I picked Fargo, North Dakota, and if you've ever been to Fargo in like February or kind of any time in the winter, it is not the warmest place on earth. In fact, it is definitely the opposite. Should have picked somewhere warmer, but I got a Bachelor of Arts, of all things, in computer science. Usually it's a Bachelor of Science, but with the Norwegian language, it made it a little bit easier to get a degree. So it was kind of a convenience type thing. Started my first IT business in 1999. We did a merger in 2010. We ended up starting a new MSP in 2012. So I have 20 some years of experience in the MSP and IT services industry. In 2018, we actually acquired a Microsoft Dynamics practice, thinking we're going to expand from infrastructure and help desk and all those into business applications. And then in 2021, I decided I should spin it back out. So I took over running the Microsoft Dynamics company, and that's been quite the experience. Kind of making that transition and moving away from MSP. So I like to joke that I'm in MSP recovery for 2 years, and it's been a good 2 years. And I live in Colorado with my wife and 2 kids, both girls, and a dog. But I lived in Fargo, North Dakota for 25 years, but finally escaped a couple years ago.
So, well, you deserve an exit, but actually I've been to Fargo, and for those of you who've never been, they're great people. But you're right, it's cold. Although he said February, I'm pretty sure it's snowing outside right now. Although it told me earlier it's 99 degrees. Anyways, thank you, Ole, for that. You'll hear more from him in a few minutes. So 7 things you must do to grow. By the way, there are obviously more than 7 things you must do to grow, but these are things that I believe that the industry and as members of the industry that you need to be aware of. And the thing one is adapt and evolve, right? I mean, adapt or die, right? It's right now, 20 years ago, MSPs were trying to convince people to outsource their IT. 10 years ago, it was 50-50, a little bit of that, a little bit of, supplement your team and things like that. Those days are gone. It's much more sophisticated today. Small businesses recognize the need and importance for managed service providers or outsourced IT. And so now they're coming for your clients. Most of you have grown through your reputation, the services you offer, and if you're lucky enough, like I was in a couple occasions, I had clients that were growing, so I grew by default. And that is how most of you have grown. And not that I want to strike the fear in you, but at the end of the day, if you are not bringing in new clients through some type of marketing and sales efforts, you're going to be losing some of your clients to those who are. So gone are the days of, you really shouldn't be paying for an IT guy when you could leverage our full broad team of services. I also think another part of the evolution is that we're becoming much more purveyors of other solutions and managers of it than we are as you were, again, 20 to 15 years ago, or even 10 years ago, where you had more hands-on. So the industry, and there's many cases where that is your value, and you certainly shouldn't neglect that and always sharpen those skills, and it'd be great to be known for it. But again, it's making it far more competitive. So how do you stay in business? More importantly, how do you grow? You adapt and you recognize that sales is getting sophisticated. The second thing, okay, and I love this one, start choosing your own clients, okay? Listen, this is a good time to put your nose up in the air and get a little snobby, and because here's the deal. If you're not choosing your own clients, you're going to have a client base that is difficult, expensive, costly, low margins, okay? Now, you can't choose to have Walmart be your client. That's a little difficult. What I'm really trying to emphasize here, though, is that you focus on people that you want to do business with. However, there is a very important caveat, and that caveat is that they would, in fact, choose your company. And the best way to know that is to go after people who are like your client base. Now, many of you start with small companies sometimes with just 1 or 2 users or less than 10 users, and it is a great place, and you can bring great value to those people. And it's difficult to scale because every one of those has to get their own bills, and to get up to 1,000 users, you need 500 clients if you're averaging 2 users a client. So of course, most of you want to grow and get larger, more sophisticated clients. But it is difficult to bring in a customer that has 200 users when your largest customer has 50 or your largest customer has 12. So know your client, create an ideal client profile, create it from what information you have within your company. Every MSP, yes, I repeated myself, it wasn't a blink in the system here, has a unique client base, even it's based on geography. Now, here is a very simple thing that we use to create an ideal client base, and is our ideal client profile criteria and scoring. We do not put any name, any prospect in our marketing system that doesn't get at least 50% of this potential score. The top three things are candidly the only things that should really vary from you. The remaining 6 or 7, okay, you should pay close attention to us here at CRO Leader, because we've had tremendous success with helping people grow their clients by making sure that we're talking to the decision makers, that we have the right contact information, that we're leveraging our LinkedIn strategy. But the first the first columns are a vertical. Most of you feel like I'll take anybody. That is not a long-term strategy. And if you take a close look at your client base, you'll probably find you're servicing more than one gas station, or more than one doctor, or more than one dentist, or more than one nonprofit. Okay. And so you should start there. I also like to say, if there's a vertical that you want to break into, that should probably be your second choice. If this were your deck, that would be you have a lot of clients in professional services, but you'd like to do more dentists. You happen to live in a place where people like to take care of their teeth. So it's not England. Sorry, my friends in England. And that's it. And again, the user count. What does your base look like? When I developed this particular one, I was talking to a guy who said, look, man, it's going to be difficult for you to bring in larger clients. I don't like to help people market to people with under 10 clients, but in this particular case, I remember this gentleman and his company, great people, and we did some tremendous things for them, okay? But we focused, I said, look, man, your sweet spot's 15 to 30. In general, in the industry, I believe the sweet spot is between 25 to 75 users. And the reason I believe that is 25 is absolutely entrepreneurially small business, sophisticated enough to realize the importance of technology, and the people typically know how to run a business. And so it can become a great partnership because you're in business too. Secondarily to that, up to 75, it's typically easier to get to the decision maker. And so, granted, the larger the company, although in healthcare, I always tell you to start with the office manager in the doctor's office. He's still making good money being a doctor. Some of those industries they will delegate, but 25 to 75 is a pretty good sweet spot to market to, and it is rich in numbers of small businesses. Distance from your office. I always loved this one. I had a client in Reston, Virginia, said, well, we'll go 25 miles east, 25 miles north, 10 miles south, west, and then 1 mile east, unless it's the middle of the day or the middle of the night, and so distance from office is geographically a good way to do it, but ultimately too, sometimes we even go as far as to break it down in zip codes. I live myself in Braintree, Massachusetts, just south of Boston, and I can drive through Boston with no traffic in 15 minutes from my house and be north of it. At rush hour, it can take, on an average day, the same trip can take over 2 hours. On an average day. On a terrible day, something goes wrong, get a hotel. Okay, so distance from office is not always geographical, but these are the things you need to think of. And then more importantly, on thing 2, talk to the decision makers. Do they value technology? I'm not going to go into much great detail. By the way, I will go into this though. There's one here that says, do they have an MSP today? And I'm sorry if you're not a client to CRO Leader, but I love prospects that have an MSP today. Why? Because they're already buying what we're selling. All we need to do is prove that our services, our company aligns better with their needs than yours. Okay. And even though we may not be right, we are skilled, and we are sophisticated in actually determining that, because sometimes we also determine we don't stand a chance. Anyway, so this is the criteria. This is one of those sheets you'll get a copy of. 3 things: divide the effort. So you're trying to grow your business, you're a small company, you're like, wait a minute, I can't hire all 5 of these people. And I'll speak briefly to each of these vertical columns, because I want you to take a look at it initially as in fact sort of dividing and conquering, and knowing who has responsibility for what. And for some of you that do have sales professionals, closers or appointment setters or account managers, too often you are giving them duties and responsibilities that candidly don't fit their job skills, that don't align well. But let's face it, most small companies like Ole's and mine, we got a lot of people who have to, we're CEOs and chief bottle washers too, right? So, right, these things happen. But dividing. Marketing's primary responsibility is to put together those marketing qualified contacts. They're the ones that should recognize who they are. They should be driving it and marketing towards those individuals. And when they show a degree of interest or awareness, even more than interest in your company, then and only then do you have a lead. Yes, they should produce pretty markets and pretty glossies and great websites. But ultimately, too, the target market responsibility, with, of course, your leadership, should fall on them. Don't leave it to your sales guys to pick who's the best customer for you. Remember, that was thing 2 is the ideal client. Marketing should be behind driving the ideal client efforts. Everyone in your team should know that's a leadership thing, which is the far column on the right. So that's where you sit there. We believe that SDR, sales development representatives, have 2 goals: to cultivate awareness of your company and to set up meetings. That's all they live for. That's all they breathe. They should be bonused on that. And we have found that the best appointment setters don't always make the best closers. And the best closers usually really struggle with getting appointments, okay? Because it is a different skill set. It's a different personality. It's a different cost. So get a team of SDRs or an SDR and have them focus on getting you appointments as the owner, or getting your sales professionals appointments. If you've invested in a sales professional and you don't have some kind of background business development SDR work going on, you're shortchanging them. You're not setting them up to fail, but you're not setting them up to succeed. Now let's talk about sales professionals. You want to go out and hire a sales guy, or you've got sales professionals. The best managed service provider sales professionals are those who can align what your prospect needs from technology to be both competitive, to mitigate risk, to improve efficiencies. Your sales professional must recognize that in the small businesses they're dealing with and be able to demonstrate not only how you meet those, but how you will excel. I want an MSP that's going to give my company a competitive advantage and is aware of my competitors. It may sound crazy, but the most successful sales professionals in managed services understand business, and they understand the importance of the efficiency and risks, and they don't go around talking about how, they got a great partnership and our response time is great. They go around talking about the downfalls of your reputation from being shut down, the downfalls of your profitability from not automating and tasks that should be done, or the importance of what happens to your business when your technology is not succeeding. That is who you want to close. Account managers, they keep your clients compliant to your arrangement with them, and also look to sell them the products that they're not buying from you today, which should be on that list, by the way, is some dynamic services. That was a shameless plug for my friend Ole, but you'll get more on that later. But that's what account managers do. They look and say, yeah, we're doing their help desk, we're monitoring their network, we're doing their security education, are we helping them improve the quality of their dynamics? Are we introducing dynamics as their ERP? Because we see all these other pieces that you should be aware of. That really falls at the account manager level. By the way, as an owner of an MSP, you're probably great at all of these things for a variety of reasons. But if you're going to go next level, you need to figure out how to scale these and how to break them out. And so thing 3 is to divide the effort. And if you can't, I highly recommend you start with the 2 on the left, period. Don't go hire a sales professional. You go take care of your clients. You go to those meetings they set up and set a bar. I always tell my clients, look, when you close 10 new deals with us, then I'll help you find a sales professional, because I'll have the budget I need to hire a good one, and we'll have systems in place where people will want to come work here. Okay, a little too much time on thing 3. Thing 4, I'm going to be quick on this one. This is about marketing. Stop talking about yourself, which is difficult for me. So I don't know how difficult it is for you, but I love talking about me. But at the end of the day, when I'm promoting CRO Leader, which sole purpose is to help companies grow. I wrote the book, The MSP Owner's Manual. It's a complete guide to growing your business. I don't talk about that. Instead, I teach and ask. I hope you learned something today. I try to teach. The first 3 slides, I'm telling you, I've had great success with people understanding it and implementing it in some form or fashion. That's how your marketing should be. Stop talking about how you're the world's greatest MSP provider and provide your clients with integral information that they need. Also ask, are you concerned don't tell them what's going to happen if, well, it is sort of important to back up with stats when it comes to security, but have you had a problem? Are you worried about a problem? Okay. In fact, one of my favorite email campaigns goes out and says, are you thinking about your company's technology security? That was in the subject line. In the first sentence in the email was, then you have the wrong managed service provider. Okay. I'm sending that to your customers. Okay. So you better be asking them too. And we get great response out of that. What do you mean? Right? Anyways, all marketing should be teach or ask and asking the right questions. Be of value before they know your name. Be of value to your prospects. By the way, your sales cycle will be shorter and you'll get a better quality customer. People hire MSPs so they can do what they do. So why are you telling them how good at what you do? Because they don't care. They're hiring you to do what they do. So why not teach them on how you can help them do it better? How you can help them never think about security, how you'll be there as they grow, as they shrink, that you monitor those things and you know that. Thing 4, teach and ask. I lied. I said I was going to be brief. Have a plan. This is the perfect model for growth right here. I'm telling you right here. I'm going to send you a copy of the slide. I do think you still need to buy my book. Shameless plug for me. Okay. But this is where we take our clients. Okay. Step-by-step process that has a deeper discovery in it. Okay. And my goal for all of my clients is simply this, for them to be bringing in a new client every month. Now, I don't stop there, okay, because once I got them bringing in a new client every month, of course, my goal is for them to bring in 2. You know, the entrepreneur and sales guy is in me, but this is the formula, okay? And you're getting much of the very foundational stuff today. Have a plan. Don't just hire a sales guy. Don't just put a website up. What is the website reflective of? What does it expect to garnish? What does your LinkedIn profile look like? Does it tell them how awesome you are? Or does it make them think, geez, that's a guy who could help me out? Could I learn something from this guy? Could my team learn something from a guy? Have a plan. By the way, any plan is good. Better than no plan. That's a fact. Marginal success and even success will come from having a plan. Great success comes from having the right plan. Use what you have to execute the components of what we refer to as the revenue roadmap, okay? And I say use what you have. I really discourage people from going out and investing in growing their team. I think within your team, you have people who know your company, and maybe sometimes you don't, maybe sometimes you got to stop out and do an investment. But this list of things that we have, we refer to it as the CRO Leader revenue roadmap. We find that when you exercise these components on a prospect, on a contact, okay, you will get a meeting. And by the way, the gold standard is the first meeting ever, the FME, okay? So who is going to do what in this list? They must be dialed. Voicemails with LinkedIn, email campaigns. Yeah, we all get them. There's a lot of them. But you know what? It's the cheapest and most affordable thing you can do. Candidly, same with webinars. Our investment is our time that we put into building this and inviting you and sharing our message with you today. This helps us get better at our own message. And sometimes we get clients out of it. Sometimes we get multiple. Sometimes we don't get any. But we hope certainly everyone who's paying attention to this is better for it. This is a list of the things you have to do. And you must be persistent and you must be consistent. By the way, 90% of this belongs on the shoulders of your SDR, a small percentage on market. Okay, thing 7, we're winding down now. Remember in the last slide, I said, use what you have. Okay, and then at that point, excuse me, take a look at the glaring gaps, okay, and then try to figure out what else you need. And the first thing you need is sales leadership. And yes, that's you. You may not be a world-class sales leader, but you need to take charge of your sales environment. And again, either delegate it or even outsource it. Here at CRO Leader, yes, bit of a shameless plug again. We help people supplement that activity. And we help coach either existing salespeople. For some companies, we manage their salespeople for periods of time and give them back a list. We help people find sales leaders. We create environments where SDRs and marketing can succeed. Okay. But you got to take a look You have to be the sales leader, and you got to take a look at what those gaps are. The simplest way, by the way, to get started is to create an ideal client profile. That's on you. If you haven't done that, and if you don't do that, then you, again, not shame on you, but you are not enabling your team for success. You are not. And you want to? You write a check to a sales guy every week. You don't want to make sure you're doing everything in your power for them to succeed. Okay. And by the way, when you have an environment like that, you attract the quality sales professionals who recognize they can't do it on their own. Okay. Get the right contacts in your database. Stop doing those ridiculous mass mailings that give you a lousy rating in the spam world and really are falling on people who are never going to buy your product or choose you anyways. And then you're missing the guy or the gal who could have chose you. Do email campaigns. They're affordable. And always follow them up. Always, always, always. Don't send them out and wait by the phone. I can't tell you how many people do weekly campaigns with no additional activity to it. In my opinion, you're chasing those people to my clients. Okay, so how do you get started? This is an offering that we have here. Okay, there's 3 ways for you to start this. What you've learned today, these 7 steps. You can do it yourself, and we can help. You got people in place. Let us help you formulate it out, get it into a better process. We can help. Okay. For those of you who don't even have it in place, listen, I love to talk. If you haven't garnished that already, although this is my webinar, but give me a call. We can chat. If you have an environment that you would like me to take a close look at for a small fee, I'll assess the environment and give you a list of the things I think you will need first and second and later to get yourself started. We also have the ability to get it started for you. And we started that program a couple of years ago, and it ended up in the 3rd. We have some SDR services and some contact building that we were doing for starting for people. We build them in your database. This is not something we have. And when we've kind of got to the point where we want to hand it off, we have a handful of clients who said, why? Can you just please keep doing this for me? And so we do. So there's 3 ways to do it. And this is what we do. We help you build the ideal client profile. We complement it with a phenomenal LinkedIn activity and solution. We have already proven email campaigns, some of which I have mentioned. You will get a recording on this, some very simple campaigns that garnish attention. We had a 42% open rate on one of our campaigns last week, today's Tuesday. 42%, even I was blown away. And of course, following it up consistently with skilled SDRs who know how to talk about what's in those email campaigns and how to coach those folks into having what we refer to as a discovery conversation. Let's have a discovery conversation. See what maybe if we can help each other out. So we set up a tremendous amount of meetings in our clients' databases from this process. And so we have a jump start. We'll help you create your ideal client profile. You get 200 marketing qualified contacts, 160 hours of dialing. We don't do this 2 hours a day, 10 a week thing. We buy a block of hours so we can use them on your database in line with your campaigns. We send out the campaigns, and it's a 6-month program for $1,100 a month, and it just gets you off and running. For $1,400 a month, we'll also throw in our LinkedIn strategy. We're not throwing it in, by the way, because there's a lot of work associated with it. This is an incredibly affordable program that will teach you all of these 7 things and build it in your own environment, to which at the end you can ask for more. Please, sir, I want some more, which many clients do, or you can go off and run with it as it is. With that, I would now like to introduce you to TruNorth. Again, before I hand it off to Ollie, I would like to say that, again, I always like to have a guest speaker, so your time and our efforts here are optimized. And I am of the belief that ERP solutions and professional services that are outside of your skill set that might scare you away is often neglected by many MSPs. And I say that, and when I bumped into Ollie, it was because I was helping an MSP do those things, and TruNorth really helped us go to the next level. And there's a lot of great companies like TruNorth, but they're my guest speaker today, and I'm excited and hope that you'll pay attention to Ollie and that he can help you. So with that, I hope I didn't put too much pressure on you, Ollie.
Thanks, Vern. I appreciate you having me on. And yes, it is an interesting challenge because if you think about business applications, Microsoft Dynamics, the first question is, as an MSP, why would I even care? I have enough stuff going on. Like I said, I was an MSP for 20 years. I get the pains, I get the challenge and the whirlwind of things that are happening. And everybody's throwing stuff at you as vendors and that type of stuff. And you don't need more stuff to do. So just a really quick note, I really wish your program was around 20 years ago because, when I sold MSP, I definitely did not get rich enough to retire. So if I could go back in time and then teleport you back with me, that would be great. But as an MSP, think about business applications and Microsoft Dynamics. So I'm going to start a little bit, but why would you care, right? Because ultimately, if you don't care, then you probably should listen to me. But a few things about why you should actually care about Microsoft Dynamics specifically, but even in general, Microsoft or business applications. So the first of all is you're getting pressure from other places to deal with these things, and not just your clients. But if you look at Microsoft is actually pushing everybody that does transactions on CSP. If you do Office 365, any of those, to push MSPs to do more of the Microsoft Cloud. So obviously, Office 365, email, all of that into Microsoft Azure, and then obviously into Dynamics. So that's the three primary Microsoft clouds. And they want everybody to do it. Well, the challenge is getting into Microsoft Dynamics business applications. It's really consulting. You're working with the business process, everything from the sales department into finance into everything else. And that's a big undertaking. Now, could you build a practice around business applications? You could, certainly. And if you want to know the pains that we went through, definitely let me know. I'd love to talk about it because there was lots of pain. But you're getting that pressure. But you're also getting the pressure from your clients. Your clients need software to run their business. Now, do you have to do it? Do you have to learn how to implement the software and that kind of stuff? Not necessarily. In fact, as an MSP, you may not want to. You already have a lot going on with infrastructure, help desk, servers, now into Azure and infrastructure in there. And now security obviously is the number one thing. And next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So a few of the reasons why you should actually care about this, because of all this pressure, is number one, you be stickier with your client. People don't switch business software. Once they're on, whether it's, if you think of a dentist, they have a line of business software, they're not switching off of that. That would be an incredible amount of pain. If you think about maybe a larger company, maybe a manufacturing company, if they're tracking everything from their sales, production, into support and everything else and finance in the business, they are not going to switch it. So you want to be part of that process. You don't have to actually do it, but you want to be part of the process around what software they should use. Is it in the cloud? Is it on premise? All that kind of stuff. Because as an MSP, you are also essentially that guiding light for your clients, right? You're doing the VCOs type services. You're providing them guidance and strategy on what they should do as they grow their business, what kind of solutions they should use, hardware, all of that stuff. Well, business software is just one of those things. You don't actually have to do the implementation. You just have to give them the guidance and strategy and what they should do, because you are the expert. You should be giving them guidance of, no, you really should be in the cloud. Here's why. Or you should be doing this because of security and that kind of stuff. And like I mentioned, you want to focus on your core business. You have a ton of stuff going on. One of the things Vern talks about is keeping it simple. You want to have a plan. You want to keep it simple. But if you have a plan and you keep it simple and you do it consistently, it will be successful. So you want to make sure you also don't distract yourself. When we acquired, as the MSP, the Dynamics practice in 2018, we probably should have gone out of business. We were just too stubborn, I think, to go out of business because we lost focus on our core business, which is why then in 2021, we split them back out, because there was two businesses with its own set of core business. Well, you can't do both with the same people at the same time. It's a big challenge. But more importantly, you can actually make money without the overhead. Now, I know every vendor says this. Like if you go to any shows, whether it's IT Nation or Kaseya, they're like, you just sign up with us and magic happens. It's super easy. It's no work and that kind of stuff. And If you've ever been through that, I have found it to be never actually true, not even a single time. There's always work, whether it's how you support it, whether it's how you implement it or deployment, or the issues that the vendors never tell you about up front, and then you have to deal with the issues and all of that stuff. But our goal is that we want to, we could be that partner where if your client needs business applications, you can refer us in, you can be that guiding light, you can be there to protect that relationship with your client and bring us in, because otherwise they're gonna find somebody else. There's lots of companies that do business applications, but you want to be part of that selection process, because then you can control your controllable and make sure you are that guiding light for your clients. You want to be seen as the people that know all the technology stuff. Even if you don't do it, think of it as like a general contractor. They don't always do every piece, but they're always going to be the guide and control their controllables. Next slide, please. All right, so just really quick, most of you probably already know this, but I do want to cover it a little bit just to make sure our acronyms I'm using is making sense and that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's software that runs part of all of our business. Because sometimes it's just sales, or it's just ticketing, or it's just marketing or support, but a lot of times it's actually everything. Now, those may kind of sound like MSP terms. Well, really, they're just business terms. Every business has some kind of support, some kind of accounting, some kind of marketing, sales, or even ticketing. Even if you think of like a manufacturing company, they support what they manufacture. Well, they need a ticketing software. So it's usually one of those or some combination of those. Now, there's lots of examples, and you run into a lot of these, whether it's HubSpot is a really common sales and marketing CRM, or Salesforce kind of on the enterprise level, Sage Intacct. But even as MSPs, if you think about ConnectWise Manage or Autotask, or the newer ones like Halo or Synchro, those are actually just business applications. Now, those are actually maybe more appropriately called line of business software, but line of business is actually just business software, but there's specific industry software, there's general software. So Microsoft Dynamics plays in the general business software. What does that mean? Well, literally any business could use Dynamics, including MSPs. Now, it is a software for maybe smaller or larger small business into mid-market. So if you're a really small MSP, Dynamics is probably doesn't make the best sense. You may want to look at some of those other ones, but if you're rapidly growing and you get to be a big MSP, it definitely could fit. So Dynamics is essentially good for any business. I mean, pretty much anyone could use Dynamics if there's not like a better line of business software. Like I said, like a dentist, they are probably better off using line of business software. But even in the case of line of business software, you probably want to be part of that selection process to make sure you can ask those questions around guiding the client around security and cloud or on-premise and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really quick about business applications. Next slide, please. All right, so I covered this a little bit, but who is Dynamics good for? So like if you're looking at your clients, who of your clients might actually need to use Dynamics or might already use Dynamics? Well, it's typically better for the larger small business into mid-market. So I define that as 50 to 5,000 employees. So Vernon mentioned the ideal MSP client is that 25 to about 100. So this is on the bigger end of that. And then if you do any co-manage where they have their own internal IT staff, they guaranteed has some kind of business applications, and most likely already. It could be Oracle, it could be some of the bigger ones, it could be HubSpot or any other ones I talked about. But the common ones we see is certainly manufacturing, a lot of professional services. So think of that like it could be theoretically lawyers and that kind of stuff, but more commonly it would be like HVAC companies. If they get like a large HVAC, they have a bunch of trucks, they have 100 HVAC people out there and that kind of stuff. That's a really good candidate. Transportation, logistics, trucking companies is a really common one. Also large nonprofits. For the smaller ones, there's lots of nonprofit software, but for the bigger ones, they often have unique needs that other software can't necessarily do. So the power of Dynamics is it's a platform. If you ever touch SharePoint, it's the same thing. You can use it out of the box. It's okay. But the power is actually you can take it and customize it to fit the business. And that's what Dynamics does. It lets you use the base of Dynamics. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to build it from scratch. And then you can customize their processes and systems on top of that to fit the organization and not have them forced to change everything in their business and processes and people and training and all of that pain to the software. So looking at your clients, it could be any of them unless they're really tiny. Now, in those cases, they probably use like QuickBooks for accounting and that kind of stuff. But even those businesses eventually, hopefully, would actually outgrowing those software. They're going to need something new. You want to make sure you're there to help guide them on that. But the key is you want to bring in somebody to just hand it off to. You know, if you don't want to do the implementations and that stuff yourself, you want to make sure you find somebody that you can partner with and work with and hand it off to have that trusted partner for you.
Ollie, if I might say something here too, because it's a great point about 50 to 5,000 employees is certainly where Dynamics plays. Remember, this is a lot about professional services and adding revenuing logos to your MSP that you don't have today. And if you want to go up the scale, which I believe you should if you're a growing MSP, to larger clients, this is around Microsoft. They're the king. You can smile or spit when you say it, but it's right. It's the road you belong on. And so I believe this is a great opportunity to grow your user count base. But remember, you're not asking them if it's a first time revenue transaction with you, you're not asking them to be their MSP. You are snuggling closer to them. And with the TruNorth Dynamics skills at the table, you look good. You look good, even if it's disclosed that you're outsourcing to the right people and that you're helping manage the implementation. So this just aligns so much with my philosophies on utilizing vendors and services to grow your business. And imagine, if you will, too, you get to put these logos up on your customer slide, right? That can look pretty impressive that you normally might not bring in. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Ollie, but I just thought it was a great opportunity to align what both of us are saying.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And the key is for us is, especially with my background from MSP, is I know the pain, I know the challenge, I know the day-to-day is really hard. And we strive to be truly the one vendor that is that easy. It could be as easy as somebody asks you or you see a client that needs it. You can literally send us an email, we can take it from there. In general, we really want to partner together and have, whether it's you, or a account manager or VCI or whatever the case be, being on the calls as well, because this is meant to be more of a partnership because you're doing infrastructure, you supporting them, you're being the guiding light, you want to be part of that conversation, but it doesn't have to be. If things are just crazy hectic and insane and you just want to hand it off, we do have partners that do that as well. But a lot of times, it works actually best when it's the tag team of that client to be able to talk through the things that they need and really help them and that type of stuff. Next slide, please. Which
is a typical vendor strategy. However, in the case of TruNorth, they're not just coming in there so that you can take them to see your clients. Okay, this is about you identifying where they may be able to potentially help you. And I think you mentioned it early, Ollie, but you went over maybe a little fast of how all vendors make these promises, we'll be turnkey, we'll be this. And having, worked with many of the vendors, being in the channel itself, most are just looking to get access to your clients. This is not the case here. This is a value add that could be something you use on a regular basis or just a couple of one-offs a year. I mean, it's, or when the time is right. And that's a great vendor relationship. Yeah. Again, I guess, you can do a pretty good job talking about yourself too. So I'll let you. So, go ahead. You're back.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a really good point. So again, part of that, making it easy, keeping it simple, because what Vern is talking about is your core. That's if you think about basketball, I was going to say baseball, basketball, dribbling the ball, having a basic plan for sales, doing all the elements, doing it consistently. That's your number one. This is kind of one of those things when you're having those VCI conversation or account management conversation, the question comes up, you're asking some simple question, what kind of challenge you're having and that kind of stuff. And they're like, well, we're having problems with our sales software, accounting software, whatever the case may be. Make sure you bring in somebody so you can control those controllables. So the ideal is for VCI or account managers, obviously, if you're a little bit larger, if you're maybe a little bit smaller and you as the owner is actually having the one conversations, and to Vern's point, that is that you are actually the best person to have those conversations. Nobody will ever care as much as you care. But those are conversations where those things will bubble up. And it's like 2 or 3 super simple questions. It's not anything complicated. We'll help you with the questions, all that kind of stuff. Again, our goal is to be truly the one that is actually that simple. Because you have enough other stuff going on. You have a sales process to obviously manage and drive and all that stuff. So this is just one of those value added pieces on top of that. And it really is just asking a few questions. If you think about, do the client not have cohesive systems, or they don't have data across the business, right? Like now everything is about data. If you don't understand and see the flow of data across everything in the business, well, that's a perfect opportunity for Dynamics to be that. Or they run old legacy software, whether it's like, Microsoft has their Dynamics GP, what used to be called Great Plains. It looks like it was made 30 years ago. It is probably time for them to upgrade and that type of stuff. So we do a lot of migrations from legacy software. Security, it's huge. They're running on-premise software. It's not fully secure, or you're sick of dealing with the things because they don't want to change it, and because users, obviously that's the biggest challenge, or it just doesn't fit the business. It doesn't help them operate more efficiently. It is time to look at it. Now, maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe the budget doesn't allow it, or any of those kind of things, but we still want to have the conversation. We want to talk about what that could look like even 3-5 years down the road, because if you're not talking about it now, it's going to be too late. So it's still worth having those conversations with those clients, and we'll help make those conversations happen. So essentially, it's just bringing a Dynamics partner into the conversation. Now, with my background, I get MSPs, been there, done that. I understand the pains. Part of our goal is to continue protecting that relationship that you have with your client, because you are those experts. So for us, is when they need Azure or Office 365, anything else, we're not going to touch it. That's when we bring the MSP back in to say, no, you need to talk to your MSP, because that's the experts that handle all of that for you. So for us, it's just kind of keeping it super simple and being there to support you and help you, and that's our mission in life at this point. Next slide, please. All right, so just to keep it super simple, I'm not going to go through this, but I love the circle of opportunity. I don't know, I just made that up. So this just kind of showcases what we do as an organization. Now, those sound like, general terms, sales, marketing. They're actually Microsoft Dynamics application names, as Microsoft often does. The names are kind of interesting and sort of generic, kind of like Windows. But we can support every part of an organization's business. And it doesn't matter essentially what their industry is or anything else. If they're having issues, if it's not efficient, if they don't have a cohesive 360 view of their business with the data and everything else, we can help make their business better. And we just love being the easy button. And all of our sales is through our channel. So again, with that background, we partner with MSPs to provide Dynamics to the end clients, and that's actually all we do. And if you're at any shows, some of the bigger shows like the Channel Company Exchange or Next Gen shows, or IT Nation in Orlando, or Kaseya, we're actually at a lot of shows. So we'd love to meet in person too. Even though video is great, it's convenient. We can all do it while eating lunch or something else. There's no substitute for the human connection, and that's kind of our ethos is the humans are, that's what's important. Software is just technology, but really it is what the people do with the software and technology that's important. And we try to infuse that in everything that we do. So with that, I will hand it back off to Vern again.
Well, thank you again, Ole, and thank you for joining us here today. And I want to, we'll leave it, type your questions in there if you have them. I do want to say, Ole, that as I was listening to your deck today, and I know we've talked many times in the past, and I don't know why this hasn't occurred to me sooner, but I would suggest any MSP using this that they could utilize CRO Leader and some of our offerings to help, look at their existing client base, or even to promote offering this service within their client base. And so Ole, you and I should catch up again afterwards, and I may use this within some of my existing clients within their business, because I truly believe this is an opportunity to bring value. And so why don't we craft something together and sit down with people who are playing with both teams and see if we can't show them how to grow their business with this. So for those of you who are listening, I hope that both of us have showed you things that you don't know today. It's always our goal. At a minimum, confirmed what you do know. You're ahead of the curve, but that's what we're here for. We are both here to help you grow your businesses and make some money. Sure, it's self-serving. That's the upside, though, because for both of us, if you're not growing, neither are we. So thank you again for joining us. You will receive our contact information, and you will probably receive a copy. You will receive a copy of this recording, any support documents. And please, if a member of our team calls you back to see if you enjoyed the recording or you enjoyed the webinar, please tell them I did a great job. And if I did it, my name is Ole. No, please respond to them. Let us know if there was more or less of something you'd like to see, because we are here to help. And thank you all for joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.